Hello everyone, this is part 2 of the seascape tutorial. Now what we did in part 1 was set out our base colours. So this is what I've done. And I put in the land off camera. I've changed where our foam will be. And you'll see I've put a dark bit. Now that's Prussian blue. The reason for that is when we put our waves in, which we're going to do, we need a dark, and I've also got like a turquoise colour here. So the waves are going to go all around here. But you need, as I've said before, you need dark to show light. And at the back here, what I've done is like little different shades of blue. And we've got the darker blue at the back. It's always going to be lighter at the front. Now what we're going to do is the clouds, and we're going to put a little bit of white here. We're going to add more white. The reason for the white is that you'll see, if you've got the reference photo, then you'll see that there's white on the horizon, and you often see that when you're looking at the sky. If you haven't got the reference photo, I suggest you go to my group, Amanda's Beginners Art Community, and you can download it. And I'll put it into featured. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the clouds, then I'm going to work on the sea, and we're now then going to do the waves and add our different colours onto the land. Actually, I'll probably come down, so it'll be sea, land, sky. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from the top to the bottom. So it's going to be sky, we're going to add the clouds. We'll probably add our bits of trees and different things, there's different colours in the land. Or I might wait until the sky's dried and then do that bit. But we'll then do different things in this bit of sea here. We'll come down and then we'll work on here, and then we'll do the splash, and we've got our foam down here. Now if I can't do it all in one part, I'll do it in another part as well. So let's get going, shall we? Let me turn the camera down and we'll get going. So to do our sky, our clouds, what I suggest is you can either use a mop brush if you have one. It looks like a mop. And alternatively you can use a makeup brush. This is one that you do blusher with, so they work as well. Or you can use any brush. I'm just actually going to use a filbert. So this is a medium-sized filbert brush. I love a filbert brush. If you're going to invest in one brush, this is the brush I would suggest. I just love it. It's an all-rounder. It's brilliant. It's great for petals. It's great for lots of surface, all kinds of things. I just love it. So I've got some, you can't see it here, but I've got some white on my work surface and some water. And you want to make it quite runny. And you don't want too much paint, that's the other thing. So tap it off. I'm just tapping it off camera here. Bring it in. Look, tap it in camera. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to drag and pull, drag and pull, drag and pull. Now if there's little bits, just pull it, just pull. There's little sort of wispy bits, little bits, but you need it quite watery. We could always go back on top if we haven't got enough, and it doesn't have to look like this photo. We're going to go back to the horizon in a minute, and I'm just going to go like that. And then we've got another bit over here, just grab a bit more white. And grab. If you want a bit more white, just add a bit more white. And I've just wiggled it. Wiggle, wiggle. Now, what I find with clouds is it's better if you just don't really think too much about it. I know that sounds strange, but if you let yourself be free, clouds seem to work better. Now, if you haven't got enough paint, just go in with a little bit more, wiggle it. Might look a bit too wispy, but this is what we're trying to do, is trying to achieve that wispiness. And drag it. Drag, drag. That's what we're doing. And it really doesn't matter what it looks like. And you can always go back and add more. But I sometimes think it's better to start off with little, and then we can always use the white. That's the other thing. And I just like it like that. And then while we've got that paint, I'd go into some white with less of your water and just go we're just going to go to the bottom here, and I'm just going to brush it across. Brush it across. It doesn't matter if it goes in the sea. Really don't worry about that, because we're going to do something else in a minute. Right, so I'm just going to, I haven't got one to hand. I'm going to put my fan on. I'm really hot. So if you hear a noise, it's my fan. It's really warm again. Now we might add some more colour to that sky, but as I said, it's best. Now I've grabbed a wipe, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it and pull. Grab and pull. Grab and pull. And you can go in with your wipe. This is the other thing. You can actually paint with wipes, as I've showed you in the last part. Just grab it. Grab it and pull. Grab and pull. Grab. And this is another way, and it's just brilliant. And then we can come up here if we want to add a bit more. We want a bit more here. And you can just tap it as well. And soften it. That's really good for those, you know, those little bits of cloud. I'll show you in a minute when I lift it up. And the other thing you can do is just use a finger. I'm just going to get a mop brush and just wipe that off a little bit. If you go wrong, just use that mop brush or your finger and just wipe it off. And I'm going to do my own bit here. I'm not really worried about that photo. I'm just going to go with what I feel, and that's what I love. I just love it. I love going with what I feel. It doesn't, clouds are free. Clouds are just what they are. No clouds are the same. They just don't look the same. So just don't worry. Your cloud doesn't have to look the same. And you see how fun that is and how freeing. And that's what I mean. It's like, when I used to start doing clouds, I used to have this thing about staying in one place. That's the other thing. Don't stay in one place. If you're going to do one thing with clouds, do not just go round and round in one place, because what happens is it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look natural. And I think it's our tendency to do that. But I would say don't do that. Just move about. And that's why I sort of say, try and be free when you do it. I'm just going to add a little bit there. We can always move that later. Just don't worry. Just be free. Just think, right, and actually what I do is put some music on and dance about. Because that way you're sort of concentrating on, you know, and then just move the brush around. And that way you're not really worried about what you're doing. And sometimes my clouds are better when I'm not thinking about it. If I'm trying to agonise to get it to look like a particular cloud, that's when it can sometimes go wrong. So I find that clouds are good to be free, and they're all different and they all look different. So I'm going to show you. Can you see? I mean, that's the kind of, you know, you get those like little dotty clouds. We're going to use those at a later time. And that's what's just so brilliant. And I've just used a wipe, or you can use a feel better mop brush, whatever, my finger. Whatever you've got just to do those clouds, and it's just such fun. I love it. We're now going to do the land, which is to this bit here, and I've added black initially. Now, as I said before, you need dark to show light, and on my work surface I've got a brown, which is a burnt umber. I have a green. Now it can be any green. You can mix a green, which is yellow and blue, and I've got a grey, which is black and white. And we can add a little bit of brown to that grey as well, and I've got some white. So what we're going to do is, if you've got the reference photo, you can see that there's lots of different colours, and I've got a very small fill bit here. But anything that you have, ideally small, but it's because it's a small area, but whatever. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tap into some of the brown. Now this is called stippling, but I don't want you to worry too much about that. I'm just going to add a bit of brown here and there. It's not really going to show up much yet. because we need to put light and dark, and we could put some black on it later as well, but it's already got black on it. And what I'm going to do is add a bit of white to a section of brown. Let's put it here so you can see it. No, let's put it here so you can see it. Can you see it? Yeah. So I've got a look, sort of lighter, excuse me, lighter brown here. So I've added some burnt umber to a bit of white, which is here where my finger is. And what I'm going to do now is tap. I've added a bit of burnt umber on its own, and I'm just literally going to tap. Tap, 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 tap. Just pretty much all over. Tap, 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 tap. Now this is called stippling, but let's call it tapping. Why not? Let's call it tapping. And just come down, and you just sort of go a bit over here. Don't add any more, because then it will run out, and then you've got different lighter colour. Now we're now going to go in. I'm going to wipe that off, go back into a bit of dark, and just add a bit of dark on top, and tap, tap, tap. And this is all it is. It's just literally, it's layering up. And then I'm going to wipe that, and I'm going to go into a bit of grey. Now what this does is it just gives you interest. Now it's in the distance, so it really doesn't matter too much, but it gives that interest of what is there? What's that over there? What's going on? And that's what you want. It's just a little bit of interest. And a tiny bit sort of over here. Always go in with black again. I haven't got any black on my palette, but we could do. And we're going to go down there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the green. And I'm going to tap, 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 tap. So add a little bit of brown in different places on top of the lighter colours. And now I'm going in with the green. I've put some brown on, and now I'm just going to go in with that green on top. And then I'm going to add a bit of white to the green, just so we've got a lighter colour. You can also add bits of yellow if you want to. I haven't got any yellow. And maybe a little bit of brown as well, mix it up. And I'm just putting different, it's just so it's different shades, and a bit more dark. We could put yellow on if you want, might do that later. And then bring it down slightly. That shows that the foliage is coming down. And I'm just adding bits of brown, I'm just sort of mingling. And all I'm doing, I'm still just tapping, tapping, tapping. But what happens is you've got like a whole load of different things going on here. And it just looks more interesting. And then you can put a bit more lighter, add a bit of grey, and even add a bit more white to make it a lighter grey. And just, maybe there's like a bit of a cliffy bit. There's a cliffy bit here. All I'm doing, tap, tap, tap. Add a bit more green on top of that brown. Yeah. I'm just going to add a little bit more brown at the bottom. And you can also go in with black. I might do that later off camera, but I haven't got any black on my palette. I'm being lazy. Make the rocks jaggedy from a distance. That's good with black as well. And yeah, can you see how that it looks more interesting than a black blob? So on top of our land, we're now going to add some trees, which I think is going to work. We're just going to do that. I'm going to do it with acrylic pen. You can do it with a little brush as well. But I find it's easier with an acrylic pen. And as I said, if you have the reference photo, it makes it a lot easier. And we're going to go in. I love doing trees with acrylic pen. Now, the reason we do from top to bottom is so you don't put your hand in the paint. That's the only reason, really. You can do it the other way. Is this going to work? No. Let's see if this one works. Yeah, I've got a brown here. The black, I think I've used it too many times. So I'm just going to do a little trunk. We'll do some little trunks. Little trunks. And then one's off here. And you can do some little branches. These are very far away, so you don't need a lot of detail. Just a little bit. And I've got a dark green pen here. You can use black if you've got black. I'm just going to use dark green, and I'm just literally, actually I might use black. Well, yeah, let's try and use black. I've got this black. I'm going to use black, and what we're going to do is we're just going to, and you can also do a little pen for the little brush for this. Is just do little strokes. Now these are very far away. I'm literally doing little strokes, like think of, I don't know, a little cross. And think like a tree, that's the other thing. Think like a tree. So little sort of sticky bits, little leaves. It's very far away. You don't need to worry too much. Just means that it shows that there's something over in the background on that. And what you can do is you can add some green. I've got to get a bit of green from my land, and we can sort of add that. You can add that with a brush. I'll do that later. And can you see it's quite far away, isn't it? So there's like little trees now on our land, and this is all different colours. I'm now using a ruler to do horizon line. So we're just going to tidy that horizon up. Now I'm going with a metallic. This is a metallic darker blue. You use whatever you want. It just tidies it up. And don't worry if there's a light bit. I've got a bit of a light bit here. Let's just join that up. I'm going to add some different colours, so that's not a problem. But if you need to use a ruler, don't worry. So I've got dark. Can you see I've got a straight line now on the horizon. Use a ruler. You can use masking tape as well. Now what I'm going to do, there's different ways of doing this, and I'm going to show you both ways. So first we're now going to go on to the back bit where the waves are. Now what we can do first is we can grab a fan brush. Now I have a very small fan brush here. You see it's tiny. But if you've got a bigger one, just use the edge of it. Now the trick of this, put some paint, but not too much, on the tip. Very little. You don't want too much. And what we're going to do is we're literally going to tap. Light shining and I can't see it. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to do little dots or little drags. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of water or fluid retardant to it as well. Not too much. I'm going to soften it slightly. Not too much paint. And we just literally in a barely touch, barely touch. Now what we're doing is we're doing the glistening bit at the back, but barely touch it. And you can see it looks like little waves and light on the back. Just sort of come down to, I've got a dark mark here, which I'll show you. And then I'm just going to grab it and just pull it a little bit. I'm not putting any more paint on. Now what that does is it just gives it a bit of movement. I'm not adding more paint, but it will just give it a little bit of movement. Do this with darker colours as well. I just want a little bit of movement. And that's just at the back. I'm going to go back and put in some white bits around those rocks at the back. We'll do that later. That's all I'm going to do. Now, the other way of doing it is with pens. And you can do it with pens. You can do, we're going to come forward a little bit. I'm going to do little lines. I'm just literally doing lines. This is a metallic pen. I'm just literally doing lines. You can't really see it much. But what it does, I'll show you in a minute, is it just gives you a bit of movement in that. And particularly as it's metallic, it will sort of glisten. And you can do a bit of both. And we'll be using these pens or the fan brush later. I'm going to go back in with the fan brush. I'm going to come nearer now, just in this middle bit here. And I'm just literally tapping it. And what I'm doing is I'm having a look and do it at an angle, because then you're sort of showing that there's like a little bit of movement. Not too much paint. Bit of movement going on, some waves. And the other thing is that we've got this, I've put in, you see this dark bit here. Now that was intentional, that's Prussian blue. Now I've put a dark bit. Now the reason for that is that that dark is the bit where you can show where the wave is. That is the dark of the wave here where my finger is, and then above it you're going to put some white. And that just shows that that's the wave. It's a wave in the background. And then we're going to put a little bit, a tiny bit, little dot, 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 dot. And do it sporadically. Bits of it show, bits of it don't. And what it does, and you can do that wherever you want. You can do, there's a bit more over here. Just choose where you want. It doesn't matter. And while we've got it, actually, do a bit more in here. And you'll see that it shows that there's things going on. Don't need it to be too pronounced, because we've got that big splash at the front, which is the main event. And what I'm going to do is while I've got this fan brush, is I'm going to grab the fan brush. And I'm actually just going to put some white paint on it. And we're going to do similar things around this bit of land. We're going to tap, and we're tapping. Now, I've got an unsteady hat, and actually that kind of works, because you want it to look like it's splashing up. So it's quite good. So it looks like it's splashing. And then there's a little bit coming out here. Yeah, that looks good. And by doing that, and see how straightforward that is, you've got that splash around that island or bit of land that's jutting out. We're now going to do the very exciting bit. We're going to do the splash. It's going to be all along here. And we're going to do it with one of these, a sponge. Now, you can do it with a fan brush as well. I think the sponge is easier, more fun, messy, and just more fun. Again, lots of fun. Right, so get that sponge. It's got to be a natural sponge with holes in it. And we'll start from this side where it's just a little bit of splash. Now I want you to go on top and just have fun. Come down into that dark and then go up and leave a few gaps. We can always add some more colour if need be. We'll see. Just leave some gaps and come down into that dark. Could always add a bit more dark, and we can always add a bit more of the colour and leave a gap. And then about here is where we have a huge splash. So just come up and just enjoy, just have fun. Woo! Let's make the noises, and let's come over. And then go up again and down and leave some gaps. Leave some gaps. And then we're going to come down here and we've got a bit of this bit here. And then we come up again. Woo! And just have fun. And leave some gaps. And then there's not much over here. And come on top. Now get some more and come on top. Oh, this is so much fun. It's just so much fun. If we want to have more colour, if we want to have more splash, then just go up. Woo! Just let go. Let go. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I love it. It's fun. And we can always put more colour in. So what I mean by that is we can put some, I think I'm going to put some turquoise in, and then we can always go back on top with the white as well. But let's leave that for a minute. And I'm going to show you. Look at that. Look at that. But we are going to put some turquoise back in, and then we can always go back on top with the white. Now, a few taps with that sponge. Look how amazing that looks. Look how great. It's really good. Oh, it's such fun. So we can always go back. I'm probably going to do that with a little bit of turquoise, but I want to leave it for now. So we've done our splash, and we're going to go back in there with some turquoise in a minute. I'm going to leave that for a moment, and what we're going to do is we're going to add this foam down here. Now to do that, I'm going to use a palette knife. You don't have to use a palette knife. And one of the reasons why we have the sand here is because I want to show that through. So get your palette knife. I like using this kind of palette knife, a putty knife, because it's nice and flat. But you can use any type that you have. You can also do this with an intricate brush, but it's a lot harder. And you could probably try and do it with a sponge as well. I haven't tried it. Maybe another time I'll try it with a sponge, but I want to do it with a palette knife. Now I want you to grab some white on the edge like that, whatever palette knife you're using. And I need you to take a weak peel, as Bob Ross would say, and you're gonna literally hardly touch it. Hardly touch it. gentle. And if you put too much on, it doesn't matter. It's nice if it's gentle. And carry on. Don't worry about that end too much, the edge. Do it again. Don't want to be too precious of this. Just get a bit more paint and wiggle it and move it and move it around, and you'll get a few holes. That's what we're looking for. Let's try a bit with a sponge, shall we? See, I don't know how it's going to work. Try with a sponge. Yeah, it kind of works with a sponge as well. So get it with a sponge. This one's a bit wet. Let's get a drier sponge. I've just rinsed that. Yeah. And just touch it. Touch. Yeah, it looks quite good actually. So you've got two ways of doing it. Go back to my palette knife. Off camera, what I've done is I've added a little bit of dark. Now, can you see below the wave? Now that is a mixture of Prussian blue. What else did I add? Yeah, it was just Prussian blue and a bit of dark brown. So burnt umber, I think. So what that does is we're going to put some more white. I'm going to leave that to dry slightly. We're going to go back doing either the sponge that I showed you, or we're going to do it with the palette knife, whichever you prefer, over the top of that. We're leaving that to dry for the moment. And what I've also done is on the sand, I've put a little bit of gold with a little bit of white to make it a bit lighter. But now I wanted that dark on there first to then add the light. So we're going to get another bit of sponge. Go for a dry bit. Break this bit up. Use a little bit. I've got a turquoise here. Now, if you look at the photo, it is very light. If you have a turquoise, brilliant. If not, just adapt your colours to whatever colours you want. And I'm going to go in. We're going to go back onto the wave because there's quite a lot of turquoise in places. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it. The same as we did with the whites. Try not to go to the tops, because the tops tend to be lighter. We can always go back on with more white though, and that's quite nice because it kind of mingles in. So leave some white, and then we've got a big bit of white there, but underneath it's a bit turquoisey. And this is what you see, you know, like the top bit's quite light, but then you've got bits of colour, and this is what really adds to your wave, is to, you know, like we've said with other paintings, is to have those lights and darks, but we can always go back on with some white. So I'm going to add some turquoise, but sporadically, and we've got the darks here, and go into those darks as well. We're going to go back on with the white with that, but it gives that wonderful two-tone. And you can also add some grey if you want to. That's another thing. And we're going to go back on and add, I'm going to add more turquoise here and further up. Could always go back with that little bit I showed you earlier with the fan brush as well. So I'm coming back and I'm going to come down here because I'm going to add a little bit with the fan brush. Yeah. And I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add some more white. You know, we did that earlier, but this time I'm going to do it a little bit more prominently. And it's really to sort of match that splash. This is coming over, it's just coming over this wave. And just remember, you know, think like a wave, as Bob Ross would say, and just bring it down. Bring some of it down. Into that wave. turquoise and bring it back. Yeah, lovely. We're going to add some more splash in white. So there we go, we've put our turquoise in, and I'm going to leave that for a minute, and we're going to go back to, I'm going to need some more white. I'm going to go back to the palette knife or the sponge, and I'm just going to add, I'm going to need some more white, I think. I'm running out of white out of this one. Ooh. Going everywhere. I got some paint on my face yesterday. I have no idea how I did it. I really don't know. Maybe I scratched my face. I don't know. Right, so as I said, take a weak peel and just rub, rub. Just gently, very gently. I'm just going to add a little bit of water to that. And very gently. I've just added a bit of water to my palette knife. What we're doing is we're doing that foam. So we want some holes in it if possible. Don't really worry about that edge too much. If you want that edge, you can just sort of press it. I'm just literally dragging that palette knife. Drag it over. Just drag it gently. And just put a little bit at a time. Add some water if you want it to flow better. Move it a little bit. Take your time with this. No rush. Going to add a bit more splash at that bottom bit, so don't worry too much about that. You can always add a little bit of dark there as well, a bit of dark, a bit more dark down the bottom. Got a bit of brown here, mostly blue. Maybe a little bit of gold, and go back into white. Now there's no right or wrong. What I'm going to do is wipe that. Where's my, I haven't got a wipe. Let's grab a wipe. Because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some gold here. I'm just going to put it on top. Further out, it's going to be a bit whiter. If you feel happier using a brush, or you might want to use a sponge, have a go with a sponge. Just experiment, see what works better for you. I'm just wiping this off because I want some white on the edges. Going to a little bit more gold. Just rub it off if you need some rubbed off. You can always go over with white as well. Just take some of it off. I might go over with white again. I'm going to leave that for a minute. I've got enough white. So that's what it looks like at the moment. We're going to add some more to it in a minute. Add a little bit more white to that. But what I'm going to do is get some more white as well. And we're going to add more white to our splash. Because we've got the turquoise on, but we need to add more white again. And I'm just going to go back in with our white, and I'm going to go to the tops. And there's more there. I'm looking at my reference photo, but you don't have to worry. Just do what feels right. And then just going over the top. I'm going to keep a lot of that. A lot of the rest of it is going to be quite. It's going to be quite turquoise. And then we're going to go up into this. Now there's a lot of white on here. It's a big splash. Really big. And it comes down. Just curving that. And there's a bit at the bottom here. And then it goes up. And there's a gap where you can see the turquoise. And then there's this big splash here. Oh. Big splash. It comes right down. And it goes up there. And then we've got another splash here. Oh, this just makes me so excited. I just love the sea. I mean, I walk in the sea a lot and I just love it. And then there isn't a lot here. A little bit. Oh, that's fab. Yeah, I think that's it. So that's our splash. Can you see? And it looks three-dimensional because you've got different colours in it. Just going to add a little bit more to the foam. I'm going to use the palette knife again. Add a bit of water or fluid retarder, whichever you have. A little bit on your brush, I mean on your palette knife, not your brush, but you can use the brush. And just touch, 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 touch. What you want to do is, what we're trying to create is those little foamy bits. And you can do it with a brush. It's just, this is less work. Once you get the hang of it, it's just getting the hang of it. And as I said, I prefer this flat palette knife. But try it with a sponge, try it with whatever you think works for you. I absolutely love the palette knife. I just really love it. And we're going to do more palette knife because I just think it's just brilliant. Love mountains. You can do whole paintings with it. And if you have this a bit wet, it creates more foamy patterns actually. So yeah, that's another tip, which I've just learned myself. You just get it wet. You only learn these things by doing it. Get it wet and you get more foamy patterns. Right, one last thing we're going to do. And you can definitely do this with an acrylic pen, a paintbrush, if you don't feel confident with this, is I'm going to do the edge with a palette knife. So grab it and pull, and pull, and pull, and pull. And don't let go. And then you get this lovely edge. Sort of a raised edge. And you can put a black line under that as well. Back to those little patterns with some wet paint. Yeah. And that's how to do a seascape. We used baby wipes, we used a sponge, we used a palette knife, we used a fan brush, and acrylic pens, but you can really do it with pretty much anything. And there we go. I hope you like this, and if you do, please give me a like, a comment, subscribe, and come to my group, Amanda's Beginners Art Community. And if you want to find the image, then come to the group. And yeah, you can follow me also on Instagram, Amanda's Beginners Art. Bye for now.